We need the music.
Oh, we need the music.
Yeah.
So
Da, 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 da.
all in good time.
Yeah, yeah.
We all have our passions. Mine is writing. So we're here today, class, to learn about teaching your text to strip. A few things that your English teacher never taught you. I'm going to show you two ads, and I want you to think about which one is concise. Don't say anything yet, just your first impression. Here we have the Apple Think Different. Hold this in your brain, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk today about what conciseness means and doesn't mean, and why you care, and then the main attraction is how you can write more concisely. That's where the strip lessons come in.
Yeah.
You got to leave something on, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to take it all off, but we're going to get rid of a lot that does not need to be there. So by now you all know our hashtag for the conference. And this slide is not really about the hashtag. This slide is a reminder of what we don't need. I didn't need a headline here. I didn't need any bullets. You didn't need any bullets. You don't need any verbiage. And by the way, who can define what that word means? Have you heard people say, let's just throw some verbiage in there? What are they saying?
Words.
Verbiage is basically overabundance of words. So never throw verbiage in there. So in my slides, I was constantly stripping things out myself, thinking, you guys don't need that. So what I do not mean, first of all, by concise, is short. Why? Why would I say that? Any guesses?
Because it might not be clear if it's short. It might not tell you enough.
True, you might need more information to be clear. What are some other problems with the word short? Make it short. Keep it short. We've all heard that. It's relative. Who said that? It's relative. So, if I had my prizes, I'd be throwing you one right now. But I'm not parting yet with them. Some things you just have to wait for. So exactly, short is relative. So if I were to say to you, cut me a short piece of string. How short? How short? What are you going to use it for? Is 3 inches too long? Is 3 miles too long? So this is what it's like with text as well. How about, you've all probably heard, if you're following Twitter, it's been going around. Anybody have that on the top of your mind, what we've been saying about the miniskirt? Ray?
It was, has to be long enough to cover what's necessary and short enough to be interesting.
Short enough to attract attention.
Yeah.
And people have been going wild figuring out who's the source of this quote. Everybody's volunteering. The latest is Winston Churchill, so I don't really know. But so when you think about your text, and we're all dealing with text, even though we have all kinds of other things to deal with, text is still sexy, by the way. Make it as long as needed. So short is not a helpful way to think about conciseness. What is helpful is to think about making your text binnable. So we've been hearing this term for decades. Anyone here been to Joanne Hackos's workshops and following her? She's been talking about minimalism for a long time. So what does minimalism mean?
Well, it just means delivering just the right content at the right time and nothing more.
Nothing more. Nothing more. So minimal is helpful, and I describe it as having two components. One is it has to be enough to meet your audience's needs. So you need to know a lot to make a good decision about, am I giving people enough? You have to know what they need. And it also has to be enough for your own purposes, for your company goals, for that piece of text. And we're always saying content here, and yes, this is true for content, but I'm really standing up to talk about text because it seems to get lost in the conversation about technology and graphics and all these other, some people think sexier, but you know, text has still got it going on, ladies and gentlemen. That's kind of my mission statement here, in case you hadn't figured it out. So these are the two components of minimal content, or in my case, concise text. Both of these things. No more and no less. So basically, you want to get down to just exactly the right amount of content. Just like you want to leave on just the right amount of coverage. Here's a title from this same talk. Basically, I give one talk a whole bunch of times and call it different things and wear different things. And this was one of the titles at a conference last year. And Scott Abel said to me, wow, that's a long title for a topic of conciseness. Well, by my definition, I wanted it to meet the audience's needs. When I'm in the audience, I want to know what is in it for me. So I wanted to give you all enough, well, this isn't you, but my audience for that title, enough to make a good decision, and enough for my purposes, which was to get them in the room. You know, some people will do anything. No more, no less. So here's how that title looked in the conference listing. I'm talking about conciseness. There's me. And I guess you get the point. So now when you look at these two ads, which one's concise? Thoughts?
The one on the left.
One on the left is definitely concise. So by our definition, by my definition, it's enough to meet the, I guess if the audience had needs, they needed to figure out who is this new upstart company, Apple. And it piqued curiosity. It piqued their curiosity. And Apple had its own purpose in doing it. I can't say that I know what it was, but they certainly achieved recognition for their brand. So it is definitely concise. How about this one? Thoughts?
Well, it tells you everything that is a mistake and gives you an example, a glaring example of it.
Well, that is probably not true. I don't know for sure, but you're thinking this is an example of advertising mistake? And it would depend whom you're asking, but in this case, these little direct mail, who's old enough to remember these, where you rip off? This is like the old-fashioned way of getting your metrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the Twitter of its day. This ad was fabulously successful by all measures at the time. So for some people, it certainly would have been a turnoff. They would have never read it. But for the target audience, this ad was wildly successful. I got it out of a book of the 100 most top-performing ads ever in history. So what that tells me is that the people it was aimed for were hungry for that information. They read every word, and they got down here, and they cut these out, mountains of these, and sent them in. So the point you get is that conciseness can't be determined just looking at the word count alone. There may be some wasted words in here, but chances are that these ad writers didn't waste a word. So let's move to the point. You wouldn't be here if you probably didn't already know, why do you care about conciseness? What are some thoughts? Why do you care about writing concisely? Yes?
To be concise, I really have to know my topic that I'm writing about, and I really have to know my audience. And having that goal forces me to do the research to get those two important pieces. That's one of the reasons.
So one of the reasons is that if you are writing concisely, it's forcing you to really know your stuff and really serve your audience. What are some other reasons that we care about writing concisely? Jason?
Better user experience.